Hi, this is Mr. Hikel. I'm bringing you a podcast today over a simple concept in chemistry we call percent composition. So when you have a percent composition, you want to figure the percentages per element in a compound or a molecule. It's a very simple procedure. It works like all percentages. You're just going to simply take the part that you're looking for, divide it by the total mass, and then you're going to multiply that by 100. And then by knowing the percent composition, you can do things like empirical formulas, you can do molecular formulas, which we're going to talk about in the next podcast that I do for you. So let's start on your worksheet. We're going to start with number 1. It says, determine the percent composition for each of the compounds below. And you're given the compound of potassium permanganate, or KMnO4. Well, the first step to this is to figure out how much 1 mole of potassium permanganate weighs. So we know that K is 39.09 because we find that number from the periodic table. It's its atomic mass. Manganese, not magnesium, weighs 54.94 because I rounded that up. And then oxygen. Well, 1 oxygen weighs 16, but this 4 right here tells us that we have 4 of them. So we got to multiply that by 4. So once we add all those numbers up, we get a total weight of 158.03 grams. Okay? So to figure out the percent composition for each element listed, we simply divide the mass of 1 divided by the total. So we would do 39.09 divided by 158.03, 54.94 divided by 158.03, and then we would do our oxygen. So we would do 16 times 4, which gives us 64, divided by 158.03. Once we do all of this, we're going to get a decimal number. So on this one, we would get 0.2474. For the next one, we would get 0.3471. And then for our oxygen, we would get 0.4045. Okay? Now, if you're familiar with baseball, you know that percentages, you just multiply them by 100. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to multiply them by 100, which subsequently all you have to do is move the decimal place to the right 2 places. So to take this to a percentage, it is 24.74%. We do 1, 2, decimal point is now right there. Okay? Same thing on this one. 1, 2 gives us 34.71%. And then for our oxygen, we would move it over 2 places and give us 40.45%. So that's the percent composition of each element in that following compound. Now let's go down to the very bottom of the page and let's look at question number 8. Because it's going to be a little bit different, but the theory behind it is still the same. So we want to know how much silver can be produced from 125 grams of Ag2S, or silver sulfide. Okay? So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to figure out how much 1 mole of Ag2S weighs. We're going to do that by, we know that silver is 107, or 107.87. But this 2 tells us we got to multiply it by 2. And then we're going to add the weight of sulfur, which is 32.06. So once we add those numbers, we're going to multiply this together. We're going to get 215.6 right here, plus 32.06. So you're going to add those together, and your grand total is going to be, let's see, 2, 1, so we're going to have 47.66. So 247.66 grams. So that's the number we're going to work with now. And then we're going to do the exact same thing we just did. We're going to take our weight of our silvers. We're going to divide it by the whole. So we're going to do 215.6 divided by 247.66. And then we're going to do the same thing with our sulfur. So this is our Ag. This is our sulfur. We would do 32.06 divided by 247.66. Once we do those divisions, we get, we're going to get 0.8704 and 0.1295. So now we're going to convert them to a percentage. Doing the same method, we're going to move the decimal place to the right 2 places, or it's the same thing as multiplying by 100. So this is going to become 87.04%. and then 12.95%. Now these two numbers added together get very, very close to 100, so we know that we did that problem right. They don't have to equal exactly 100 because everybody's going to round a little bit differently. Okay, so we're going to rewrite those up here. So sulfur is 87.04%, and our silver is 87.04%. Our sulfur is 12.95%. So it says we have 125 grams of this. Well, we know this thing doesn't weigh 125 grams. We know it weighs 247 and some change. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take 125 and we're going to multiply it by our percentages. But we only want to multiply the amount of silver. We don't care about sulfur because the problem's not asking how much sulfur. We want to know how much silver we can make. So we would do 125 times, we would multiply by our percentage. When you multiply by our percentage, you have to put it in decimal form. So we're going to undo our percentage. So we're going to do 0.8704. Once you multiply that out, you should get 108.8 grams of silver can be made if you have 125 grams of silver sulfide. So next time we're going to talk about empirical and molecular formulas and how we're going to use our percent composition and how that applies to both of those. So you got to become very proficient at doing percent compositions before you can fully understand empirical and molecular formulas. So until next time, if you need help with anything, feel free to email or always ask me in class. So have a great day. Bye.